This video is going to walk you through how to create citations so that you can legally and ethically use work and information from other sources without plagiarizing. So for starters, what is plagiarism? Plagiarism is when you steal someone else's writing and try to pass it off as your own without giving credit to where you got your information. Citations are ways to let your reader know the source of the information that you use when you write an academic work. The citation style that you will use for your report is known as parenthetical citations, which means that you give credit for the source at the end of the sentence or sentences that use that source in parentheses. You will use MLA format for this. You will need to make a citations list at the end of your paragraph to show where your sources came from. It's important to remember that in a paragraph, you cite at the end of a sentence before you change idea or source. We will look at some examples. There are two ways to use information from a source. The first one is to paraphrase, and the second one is a direct quote. Paraphrasing is putting a passage from a source in your own words. It has the same meaning, but is not using the exact same words as the source. You still have to give credit for this because even though you're changing the words, the idea and thought came from a different source. So you need to show where that information came from. So this is an example paragraph where it uses information from other sources. You'll see that those sources have been cited here in parentheses, just with a number. That number is going to be found at the end of your report with the actual citation. So as you can see, this would be the example citations list that you would see at the end of the report, at the end of the paragraph. So the number 1 here shows that the source I used for this is where that came from. And then the number 3 here shows that I got that information from this source. Then there's direct quote. A direct quote is identical to the original writing. The words must match the source document word for word. So here's an example. Let's say that this second sentence came from a source. It says, one source says 7.5% of students report being cyberbullied in the past 30 days. I have quotations to show that I'm directly quoting that from someone else, and then I have the number to show where that information came from. Same thing here. In one study, students said that they are, quote, much more likely to be cyberbullied than be bullied in person, end quote, and I gave the number of my citation. So my citations list would look like this again, where I have the number, the citation that I got from Britannica, and then I show where that information came from. You will have access to an example citation list again, which just has those examples written out for you in paragraph form so you can see what your work will look like. Remember that Britannica will give you the citation, so it's important to make note of where you're getting your information from as you are working.